which actor performed the character so well that there could never be another replacement. Bryan Cranston as Walter White. I can't imagine anyone else as Hal either. It literally would have been a different character if it wasn't Bryan. Half the stuff he did in the early seasons was the writers playing, "What won't Bryan do?" until they had to stop, because the answer was nothing. Jed walked around in nothing but tighty-whitey underwear on set for 5 hours straight, and was completely fine with it. Sir Ian McKellen as Gandalf. Pretty much the entire lot cast fits here. They were all cast so well. And yet we almost got Nick Cage as Aragorn and Sean Connery as Gandalf. Hugh Laurie's House. If somebody said Gregory House is coming back, and I saw anybody else, I'd immediately be like, cancel that bullshit. Are you people mad? David Cross auditioned for it. Just imagine. There is an alternate universe out there where he got it. Edit. He also auditioned for Walter White. Greater than I'm afraid I just blew myself. Dr. Gregory House. He had something of a mess on his hands, and it wasn't lupus. Lupus. Danny DeVito as Frank Reynolds. Yup. Christoph Waltz as Hans Landa. Heck, most actors in Tarantino movies with speaking parts are hard to imagine played by others other than Mr. White and Blonde. You could swap the cast of Reservoir Dogs around, and it would still just be as good. Mr. Pink would like a word. Yeah, WTF. Removing Steve Buscemi would be a war crime. I thought they meant the actors all switching roles. I thought that was cool. But from these comments I guess I was wrong. Lol. Greater than I thought they meant the actors all switching roles. I did. Robbie Coltrane as Hagrid. Also Alan Rickman as Severus Snape. And Maggie Smith as Professor McGonagall. As well as Rick Hard Harris as Dumbledore. Never mind. Let us not forget Daniel Radcliffe as Harry himself. Jeff Bridges as the Dude. And John Goodman as Walter. Over the line. Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown. And Michael J. Fox as McFly. Steve Carell as Michael Gary Scott A.K.A. the best boss. Kramer in Seinfeld. Michael Rickards. Easily this. No one could pull off the Kramer character better. It is so great in scenes where he is with Jerry and often you can see Jerry trying not to laugh. Kramer is probably the most unique character in all of sitcom history. The physical comedy gifts of a Chris Farley and the acting ability of a Burt Lancaster. Impeccable comedic timing. He had it all. And shockingly, he wasn't even the best part of the show. Jason Alexander steals every single scene he is in, and he's in almost all of them. I can't believe I thought Jerry Seinfeld was the main character when I was watching it on television. Have you ever watched the pilot episode? I had never seen it before the show was on Netflix. Jason Alexander is the only one who knew what his character was supposed to be that early on. George was George. The others were all slightly off, and needed a few episodes to find their groove. I honestly think George carried the show in the very early episodes. It took a few episodes for George too. Jason Alexander has talked about it in interviews, that he had no idea who George was early on until he realized it was Larry David, and then just worked with that. He realized it was Larry David when he had questions about the character's motivations, and Larry David pretty much responded with, "What do you mean?" That happened to me. But George is probably the most consistent character in the show. Yeah. Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley. It was almost Meryl Streep who got the part. I threw up in my mouth a little. I actually think she would have done a great job. A very different job, but a great one. Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire. Robin Williams in almost any of his roles. Sure, he could be replaced, but the movies wouldn't have the same charm. It is hard to imagine his role in Good Will Hunting, or Dead Poet Society played by anyone else to the same effect. Celebrity deaths don't really affect me much, but Robin Williams is still someone I think about often. I grew up with his movies. The next one that I know will happen in the next 10 years or so is Patrick Stewart. I am not ready. No one but Arnold Schwarzenegger can be the Terminator, T-800. Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave. I'm your Huckleberry. Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. That is all. Also Han Solo. Sorry, other, young version guy. This was probably one of the reasons the Solo prequel flopped. People don't want to see someone else playing that role. Just like an Indiana Jones reboot sounds dreadful. Some characters are known for being recast. Others are just too iconic to do that. Harrison Ford is one of the few people to pull that off with more than one role. I think for the most part Harrison is really good at playing himself. His most well-liked characters are witty and sarcastic, individualistic, and mildly grumpy. From what I have seen and read of him out of character, he's pretty close to that. Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny as Agents Scully and Mulder. Mal Reynolds, or Rick Castle, or John Nolan, or really any Nathan Fillion role. I don't think anyone can have as much fun with his roles as Fillion does. Nathan Fillion playing Rick Castle playing Mal Reynolds. Space Cowboy.